From Eyewitness News, breaking news.
It's grown to become a monster storm. It's an unpredictable storm. We've been looking at it change in degrees of severity.
Regular rainstorms that we have in Beaumont flood us out. Category 4, that might just wipe us out.
There are going to be neighborhoods, there's going to be places, whether it be rural or in a town, that are going to be unrecognizable.
Hurricane Laura making landfall on the Gulf Coast as a Category 4 storm. New this morning, it has weakened to a Category 3, but coastal residents are getting hit with heavy wind and rain right now, and that could lead to major flooding. The storm surge is dangerous and potentially deadly. The National Hurricane Center called it unsurvivable. We looked at video from Lake Charles this morning in Louisiana. We'll show you that later. We're planning to bring you in-depth coverage of the storm. Our expert meteorologist Jake Dunn is tracking Laura's path right now, all the potential threats. Let's get right to him. Jake, what's going on? Southwest Louisiana is bearing the brunt of Hurricane Laura right now. The storm touched down around 1 a.m. near Cameron, Louisiana, again as an extremely dangerous Category 4. The National Hurricane Center says Laura had maximum sustained winds of 150 miles per hour, making it the most powerful hurricane to strike the U.S. so far this year. And for the first time in 8 years, Louisiana activated its full National Guard. That's how serious this situation is. Officials even shut down Interstate 10 over fears it would flood.
No way to be certain that if you live through Rita and that you're hunkering down in an area that there was an evacuation notice, that you will survive.
The storm is expected to move through Louisiana and into Arkansas before turning right on its way to Virginia this weekend. The storm's power raised fears of 20-foot storm surge. Forecasters are calling it unsurvivable and capable of sinking entire communities on the Texas and Louisiana coast. Let's bring Jake back in to explain just how dangerous this is. Jake, reports suggest that storm surge this high is a major threat to life and property.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wall of water, and you're talking 20 feet tall. So, I mean, you know, imagine a 5-6 foot person, 4 times the size of that. That's the size of a house or more. And again, it's just a wall of water rushing in. And as you said, Natalie, it's really not survivable. Now, here is the scene again, 1 o'clock in the morning, that eye wall moving inland across extreme southwest portions of Louisiana. And you may have heard there's 2 sides of a hurricane, and we call the east side the beast side. And there's a reason. We have that strong onshore flow. So again, here's our low pressure center. We've got that counterclockwise circulation. So we've got the wind and the water coming like this or inland. And so basically the wind just collects the water and continues to push it until it finds land, and then it goes wherever it wants to. And again, we're talking very low-lying areas. So that's why they said that storm surge of 20 feet could go inland up to 20 or 30 miles. Incredible devastation, most likely. The other side of the storm, we have the offshore flow. So wind pushes the water away. So east is beast, west is best. And well, we had portions of Louisiana on the beast side. Now we're looking at inland rainfall. Inside of this zone, we're probably looking at 8, 9, 10 inches of rain. So it's not just coastal flooding, it's inland flooding. And this could go all the way to Little Rock. And then the storm system curves out. We're going to have more on Laura, any impacts here locally, and of course your complete 10-day forecast up in just a few minutes.
The 2020 hurricane season overall is expected to be extremely active this year. It's supposed to peak next month. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says 85% of major hurricanes develop now until the end of the season, November 30th. Buckle up, everybody. Here's a look at the wind speeds associated with the hurricane. This will give you an idea of just how dangerous Laura is. A Category 1 storm has winds between 74 and 95 miles per hour, causing minor damage. A Category 2 has winds between 96 and 110 miles per hour. This storm will cause extensive damage. It can uproot trees. A Category 3, where Laura stands right now, has winds between 111 and 129 miles per hour. This storm can cause devastating damage. Winds can knock down the door on a house. A Category 4, which is the state Laura was in when it made landfall, has winds between 130 and 156 miles per hour. The storm will cause catastrophic damage. Winds can blow the roof off a home. Finally, a Category 5 has winds that are 157 miles per hour or higher. In a storm this intense, homes and buildings will get leveled. So how do storms get their name? The World Meteorological Organization will pull names from 6 rotating lists. If a hurricane becomes too deadly or costly, its name is retired. That was the case for Hurricane Harvey in 2017 and Katrina in 2005. There are a few names left to choose from on this year's list. Nana, Omar, Paulette, Renee, Sally, Teddy, Vicky, Wilfred. You can see the list includes a name for each letter of the alphabet. A few tornado warnings have been issued in Louisiana. Did you know twisters are another life-threatening risk that coastal residents need to keep in mind after a hurricane makes landfall? Forecasters say systems out of the Gulf of Mexico are more likely to produce tornadoes too, because it depends, but it of course depends on where they make landfall. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina produced around 33 tornadoes across multiple states. Can you believe that? The storm's outer bands were responsible for over half of the reported twisters. It's also important to note tornadoes are not just limited to the coastline or day of landfall. Forecasters say more activity actually happens the day after, and it can occur hundreds of miles inland. One of our trained storm chasers is in Louisiana right now. Mikey Gribble has been tweeting and following the developments since late last night. Normally, of course, he'd be chasing tornadoes in Kansas, but he's in Lake Charles, Louisiana, covering this monstrous hurricane. He says as much as he loves storm chasing, 150-mile-per-hour wind is terrifying.
Tornado chasing, it's more of a game of skill. They're beautiful storms. The hurricane, it's not real pretty, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Gribble says he plans to stay safe, but is prepared for a worst-case scenario. He says he has his car packed with emergency supplies and freeze-dried meals as well. The Red Cross plans to deploy 27 volunteers from Kansas and Oklahoma to this danger zone. Some volunteers will also help virtually. The volunteers plan to set up additional smaller shelters where masks and social distancing will be required. The Red Cross says its services are available for those that need it, even in the middle of a pandemic. The goal is to make sure people have a safe place to ride out the storm.
We're used to being boots on the ground, but this is a great way that we can assist those that are actually living in the state and impacted, and really kind of take some of the burden off of them as well.
The Red Cross says it has 700 people assigned to help. If you would like to help in any way, you can also become a volunteer, donate blood, or donate money. Researchers warn Hurricane Laura could contribute to the pandemic as a super spreader event. Hundreds of thousands of people are under evacuation orders. According to a study by Columbia University researchers, the mass evacuations in Texas and Louisiana could trigger a spike in cases. And we're talking about in both the origin and destination areas. Some state leaders are pushing for private shelters for evacuating families.
And then on our sheltering plan, congregant shelters will be a last resort. But even there, we are not going to have the capacity we would normally have, because we're going to be trying to cohort family units so that they have separation between themselves and other individuals that we're going to shelter.
The CDC updated its hurricane guidelines this year, urging people to include face masks, disinfectant wipes, and hand sanitizer in their emergency kits. New numbers from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment show the state experienced another increase in coronavirus cases. There were more than 1,500 new cases reported in the past 48 hours. That's that bar on the right-hand side of your screen. Right now, the state is just shy of 40,000 cases overall. Here are the numbers we continue to track. 43 new hospitalizations and 11 new deaths reported statewide since Monday. 9.1% of the tests came back positive. This number will likely change as more data comes in. We continue to follow the latest developments on the Gulf Coast as Hurricane Laura thrashes Louisiana and parts of Texas. Here's a live look right now at Lake Charles, Louisiana. It's dark, a little bit difficult to see, but those trees just show you how very windy it is. Also coming up after the break, President Trump will officially accept the Republican Party's nomination for president today. Who else you can expect to hear from on the final day of the convention.
Expect more from KWCH 12. This is Eyewitness News This Morning. Online at kwch.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Eyewitness News This Morning. Thank you for joining us. Covering Campaign 2020, today is the fourth and final day of the Republican National Convention. Today's theme is Land of Greatness. Key speakers include Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and advisor Ivanka Trump. President Trump will also accept the party's nomination at the White House. Skylar Henry has a recap of day 3 in case you missed it. About 1,500 people are expected to attend the president's acceptance speech. The Trump campaign says everyone will get tested for coronavirus before they're allowed in. It's 4:47 on your, what day is it? Thursday morning. Well, let's not go back to Monday. Here's a look at the storm outlook. We're looking at a chance of storms, and it's bringing with it cooler temperatures. Jake breaks down what you can expect in your Storm Team 12 forecast. Local artist turns Wichita's oldest skyscraper into a work of art. Check this out. This is the Caldwell Murdoch building in downtown Wichita. Isn't it beautiful? It's been vacant since the 90s. But artist Delilah Reed painted several murals across Wichita, and she and a group of friends tackled this project. They painted all 240 window panels in this 6-story building in just 7 days. I love it.